Hey everyone, it's Taylor from ELLE.com. Today I'm going to walk you through different techniques on how to get the best application with your concealer, as well as different tools and formulas on how to achieve that. So if you're trying to cover up a blemish, I recommend using something that comes in a compact. It's a little bit denser than anything that's creamy, so it's going to give you a lot more control. When you're using this, you're going to want to use a stiffer bristle brush. You don't necessarily have to use one that's recommended for concealer. I'm actually going to use an eyeshadow brush today to show you how to get a really great application. So with these concealers, I like to just pick up as much as I can on the brush. You're not going to want to use a fluffy brush for a formula like this because you're not going to pick up very much, and we're going for a lot of precision with this right now. I like to just dab the concealer over the spot and get it applied before I go in and blend. Now once you've gotten the concealer on the blemish, I like to take the warmth from my finger to blend it into the skin. You don't want to use any pulling motions, as that's just going to make sure you're going to have to go over it again and again. Instead, we're going to lightly press into the skin. If you have a fresh blemish on your skin, you're going to want to do this a couple of times in the same spot, since it is probably going to be a little more oily. This is just going to ensure that it's going to look not too cakey and it's going to stay on and keep it covered all day long. Once you've applied the concealer where you need it, you have to set it. This just ensures, again, that it's going to stay there all day and not move around on the skin, since blemishes are always a little bit oilier. I like to do that with a translucent powder, which you can either do in a loose formula or in a compact. You're just going to go right over where you applied the creamy concealer with a very light touch to ensure that it stays put but doesn't cake on too much. Now, if the blemish is still showing through, you can start all over again and add as many layers as you need using this technique. If you have drier skin and you're just looking to cover up any redness that's on the skin caused from sensitivity or rosacea, or any darkness under your eye, you want to make sure that the formula you use is as creamy and moisturizing as possible, but still giving a lot of coverage. I like to apply this to the back of my hand so I can work with very little at a time. Now, if you're going to use your finger for this, I recommend using your ring finger, as it's your weakest finger and won't pull on the skin as much. So I like to just pick up a very little bit of the concealer on the back of my finger, dotting it under the eye very gently. At this point, I like to go in with a brush and get it all the way up to the lash line, since a lot of people forget to do that and they still end up with a shadow under the eye. You can also skip doing this with your finger and just do the whole thing with your brush. But with these creamy formulas, I still like to blend out with my finger even after I use the brush. If you're covering a dark shadow or any puffiness under the eye, feel free to go as far down as it goes. Now if you're using the creamy concealer to cover up redness on the skin, I recommend using a brush that's a little fluffier or a little bit bigger. So if you like more control, you can go in with a brush that looks more like the paintbrush. But I personally like a more diffused look, so I end up using a fluffier brush like this with the synthetic fibers on the end. Those just end up blending a lot easier. And what I do is pick up a very little bit of the concealer, and since a lot of my redness is on my cheekbones, I'm just going to blend it in using small circles. This is really great for people that have sensitive skin and get a lot of redness in the T-zone, and especially good for people who have rosacea across the cheekbone and the nose. And just like with a compact concealer, you're going to want to set any creamy concealers with a translucent powder. And there you have it. So hopefully you learned some great tips and techniques on how to get great coverage without caking on concealer. So head over to ELLE.com to get more beauty video how-tos.